Big news, everybody! All the rumors are coming to fruition with the announcement of Kill Team Hivestorm. The Astra Militarum are getting a revamped Tempestus squad. The Tau are seeing some beautiful new Vespid models, and 3.0 is on the horizon. A few things to go over, and sorry for the delays in videos over here. Greg and I have been embroiled in a half-a-year-long move to a new locale, and the warp engines just don't seem to want to engage. That all being said, I did want to take a look at what was announced here for Kill Team, as it is something I've been looking forward to for a bit of time now. Before we get into it, if you like tabletop content, strategy, the hobby, random thoughts, and you're new to the channel, appease the YouTube gods by subscribing, maybe touch one of those thumbs if you feel up for it. And with all that, let's take a look at the Hivestorm announcement. The Warhammer preview show came and went over the weekend. It was a little over 20 minutes of info, during which we were shown a bit about the new teams. We were also given the release date of October with assurances that prior teams will be getting updates. Now, I occasionally like to rein in hope, so keep in mind that nothing is set in stone yet. I will certainly enjoy seeing all teams brought up to the standard of the new rules, but always the pessimist, I will not expect it. That way, I can potentially be pleasantly surprised. There was info in the write-up of the reveal that old teams will be seeing data card releases, potentially updating the teams fully, but at the very least providing them with quick reference cards, something that is quickly becoming a mainstay of Games Workshop games. A welcome addition. And on that note, it was also announced that all faction rules will be available online day one for free. My dwindling bookshelves, thank you. This seems to be related to a massive shift in Games Workshop's push for easy accessibility. Hopefully, it holds up going forward. And something that is a massive change in my opinion was the reveal of the Kill Op. The few battle reports we've managed to put together over here probably showed most of you that the flow of Kill Team tends to involve a lot of cagey maneuvering. Killing opponents is great, but if you simply hunkered down and scored some points, victory was inevitable. There is now a layer being added where defeating opponents can result in some much needed victory points based on starting team size. I could easily see this swinging some of the meta in new and interesting ways. Bad matchups could find new routes to victory by forgoing hope in capturing an objective and just trying really hard to kill an elite Space Marine or two before the end. Or in reverse, elite teams that get out pressured on points can decide to up the attack volume and commence the slaughter. And shift the tides in later turns. Really looking forward to that. They also spoke on something I feel could greatly improve the entryway to playing Kill Team: co-op. They've generated some mission systems that allows for cooperative play, giving the learning part of the game an avenue that feels less oppressive to people looking to get into a new game. And points they brought up during the show, I absolutely agree with. A new player rarely wants to get stomped by a veteran, unless you're into that kind of thing, and a veteran player tends not to like making mistakes to try and avoid stomping someone. Perfection at all times. A potentially good overarching addition to the game, but we'll see how it pans out. Now, the teams. Astra Militarum fans rejoice! You get some jetpack-ish guard, the Tempestus Aquilons, and they come with rules that break the normal flow of the game. According to the overview, a third of the team will be on the field to start, but over the course of the rest of the entire mission, the team will arrive in some way, shape, or form. Deep striking in Kill Team, a rarity usually tied to a one-off command point use. I'm interested to see how this translates in close quarters. Design-wise, they seem fine. Local fans of the IG seem happy with the results and are looking forward to being mad they can't buy these boxes day one just outright. In general, we see some common loadout concepts for these specialists: dual pistol wielder, mine planter, a melee specialist. They are also getting a mini servo tank thing for when strong fire support is needed. They will face down the Xeno horde of the Vespid Stingwings. The Tau saw a massive range update recently, and fans of these winged hunters were wondering when they'd get some of that upgrade juice. This update is superbly dynamic, reasonable for the agile feel these creatures are supposed to give off. The team universally has the fly ability. This could potentially be a little interesting with the upcoming rules shift. I've assumed that fly might be getting pulled a bit back in terms of its power, considering the Harlequins had it basically removed from their faction, and the abusable nature of fly leads to some truly obnoxious strategies. While it is still unclear if units with fly will maintain their extreme level of mobility in 3.0, from the sound of it, even if there is a shift in how they work, the agility will still be felt, and a core tenet of the Vespids seem to be glass cannon, good at moving and shooting, not so much at taking shots. And movement is pushed further with the weapon rule of becoming better after movement. Lore being applied to a game rule. Neat. This might make it seem like hunkering down will be a thing you can't do, but I'd argue that moving a full distance to and from a cover location might still work to power up the weapon. We'll see if the wording on the ability prevents this. The team also has a secondary resource called communion points. From the sound of it, the Vespids work in a very primal way, moving towards and attacking the closest target. It's these points that allow you, the player, to get one to do something out of the norm for them. An odd take, but it could make for some wild matches where activating units in certain orders might allow the game to sort of play itself, like kicking it into neutral and seeing what happens. Specialist-wise, the Vespids seem fairly advanced. There are weapons that damage units you move over, weapons that cause permanent area radiation, leaving behind wound-spreading pools for the rest of the game, a stealth suit Vespid, and visually, I think the redesign is stunning. Now, the article goes into more details about all the parts coming around the two teams. We get to see the new season terrain, what appears to be a return to open maps and claustrophobic kill zone setups. And there is something a little interesting here. There are more walls that feel designed to work with climbing rules. Trying to get into one of these ruined buildings will have you spending move distance to pull it off. Different distances depending on what part of the wall you were crossing at even. And with this terrain comes an expansion of deployable options. I'm still not too sure on how this will work. The original system we knew has 2 barricades. This adds what seems to be reinforced walls, barbed wire, smoke grenades, ladders, all kinds of oddities. If I were to guess, when you would normally deploy your 2 barricades, you can instead choose from a wider range of strategic options. Maybe I want 2 barricades still. Classic. Maybe one of these heavy vision blocking walls and a smoke grenade. Maybe a ladder in this Vox device. Most likely, this will change how parts of the map can be played into. Really interesting to see how this all works out in the end. We also saw the reveal of the 2024 approved ops along with the new tokens. In the video, we got to see a hint at the new initiative choices. The ability to play an extra field asset from what we just looked at. The ability to use a strategic ploy for free in the first turn, as well as what seems to be the ability to redeploy one model on the field. Honestly, these adjustments feel great. A good way to mix things up, but this selection of tokens that was shown brings to mind some questions. Firstly, notice that there are only 3 objective markers. There is a chance with this adjustment for killing that maps will have less objectives to fight over, providing more models that chance to get out there rather than staying back to be a designated point earner. There are also some new odd tokens I'm unfamiliar with, but, and this is huge for some of you out there I'm sure, all measuring tools are now in inches instead of symbols. It happened. The criticism hit critical mass and caused GW to decide to simply focus on inch-based increments. Raise the victory flag, you nerds. All in all, these reveals, the free rules going forward, the teams having such interesting functions, the possible enhancement to early game setup, the refocusing on kill potential. I think I'm getting this box. I don't need it exactly. I certainly have too much terrain and a bit too many teams, but this really does feel like it could potentially be an extremely positive refresh. Again, trying to keep things in check. We still aren't 100% sure on what will become of the Compendium teams, which will be odd, as Compendium being removed would mean we have 0 Tyrannid teams. Wild that we've made it through an entire chapter in Kill Team history and have seen nothing moving on the bug front outside of the Genestealer cult teams. A true travesty. With all that being said, what do you think of the reveals? Interested in any of the teams? I wonder how many of the Harlequin players will make the jump to Vespid to reclaim their fly ability if it isn't universally changed. And what do you think of the possible rules shifts? It really sounds like they are trying to tackle some wording jank to smooth the edges out a bit. Hopefully not too much. I put a lot of effort into those how-to vids and would like to only add a minor update video to the collection. Your hopes, your dreams, drop them in the comments below, and if you're interested in continuing the conversation, we have a community Discord linked in the description. Post up some projects you're working on, regale us with the tales of your battles. We'll be happy to have you, and as always, likes for the like god and subscribes for the subscribe throne. I am Kimmerix, and I'll see you in the next one.